Cleveland has been bad for so long. If they get in the playoffs and end up second in the AFC North, how do you not consider Kevin Stefanski for the job he's doing in 1 year with that program?
Kyle Crabbs and Drae Harris of the Draft Network, and we are here to talk about coaches. Drae, the Coach of the Year race is pretty interesting right now. There's some established names, but a couple of young coaches, including a first-year head coach, that have stood out, in your opinion, as we look at the field. Mike Tomlin, 10-0 at this point in time. Is he, in your opinion, the favorite to end up being the NFL's Coach of the Year when it's all said and done? Because they got a great chance to kind of close the door on the Baltimore Ravens here this Thanksgiving evening, because they play in Pittsburgh, potential to sweep and push Baltimore to 5 losses on the season.
I think that there are a handful of coaches who have done an outstanding job thus far, and for me, it's kind of like not necessarily a three-way race, but 3 guys definitely should be considered for the best coaching job this year. Starting with Flores, I think he's done an outstanding job since he's been there with the Dolphins. I think this past year they were last in scoring defense, and I think that this year they're near the top and certainly challenging for the AFC East. I think they're one of the rare teams, or the first team in a long time to go from last to first in scoring defense in the AFC East. And then, of course, if you go over to Cleveland, I think that Kevin Stefanski has done an outstanding job with a team that's been perennially bad for a number of years. I think that the Minnesota Vikings are sitting right now and wondering if they kept the right guy instead of firing or instead of allowing Kevin to go to Cleveland and keeping Zimmer. But I think ultimately it's got to be Tomlin. I mean, I think that he's approaching his 14th consecutive non-losing season. His best job may have been, this past year when he led them to, I think they were 8-8, and they nearly got into the playoffs with Doug Goose Hodges.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting when you look at Pittsburgh, and there's been some games where they've kind of found themselves in some dogfights that you wouldn't anticipate, but defensively they're so strong, and that's been the identity of the team for so long. And they're going to have all pros on all 3 levels of the defense. If you're counting TJ Watt amongst the linebackers and Hayward and Minka Fitzpatrick, and they got studs everywhere. And I've been most impressed with, from Pittsburgh's perspective, their ability to kind of have interchangeable matchup guys in the receiver core that on any given week, like, somebody who's in Pittsburgh's wide receiver room is going to blow up and win you your fantasy week. But it's a different guy each and every week, whether it's Deontay Johnson this past week against Jacksonville or Chase Claypool. Eric Ebron's been impressive, too, at the tight end position and had some big plays for them as well. Obviously, it helps to have an established future Hall of Famer like Ben Roethlisberger as your trigger man. But, even he's been more so dispersing the ball, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. Stefanski's the one that I think is really going to make a late push here, because Cleveland is 7-3. They are playing winnable games. I believe they have Jacksonville in Week 12, so an opportunity to get to 8-3. Yeah. So there's going to be a 10-win team, a 9-10 win team in the AFC, I think, who ends up being on the outside looking in the playoffs. And I think if anybody's going to push Tomlin for that job, whether it's Brian Flores in Miami, Kevin Stefanski in Cleveland, I think you're going to have to make the playoffs to have it on your resume this year to have any chance to contest the job that Tomlin's done in Pittsburgh.
Sure. I mean, I think that with Cleveland being 7-3 currently, and they're firmly in a hunt for a wild card spot, Cleveland has been bad for so long.
As you think about the roster that Cleveland has, and you think about the roster that Pittsburgh has, Flores is probably doing the most with the least if you look at the talent that's available to them, specifically on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, the much debated decision to make the quarterback change from Ryan Fitzpatrick to Tua Tagovailoa, but this is a team that's got 2 or 3 rookies starting on the offensive line, depending on series by series, a rookie starting quarterback, a rookie running back as the starter right now. Their slot receiver is starting as a rookie. They have so much youth on that side of the ball, and yet because from a special teams and defense perspective, they're playing really complementary football, maybe not in week 11 against the Denver Broncos, but coming into this past week, they've won 5 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
They are playing really impressive complementary football and a full team effort on a week-by-week basis. And Brian Flores, who coming off of last year was arguably the worst roster in football that we've seen in a couple of years, is still a really, really impressive job. And if he makes the playoffs with a 10-win Dolphins team, I think he's got a great resume to contest Tomlin for the award.